January 14th. Deep beneath the Arctic ice, something moved. Not a drill, not a demonstration. A nuclear-armed submarine carrying a weapon the West spent years calling impossible. Poseidon, 100 megatons. Autonomous, unstoppable. And then, it disappeared. NATO scrambled. Coastal cities held their breath. Because for the first time in history, Russia's apocalypse weapon wasn't just a threat anymore. It was hunting. Welcome to Newslist, where we break down the stories that shape our world. What you're about to witness isn't speculation. This is the moment deterrence died and was replaced with something far more terrifying. Certainty. Hit that like button, subscribe, and settle in. Because by the end, you'll understand why the entire world is holding its breath. This wasn't an exercise. This was deployment. The Belgorod, Russia's most secretive nuclear submarine, slipped from its base on the Kola Peninsula into the dark waters of the Barents Sea. On board, Poseidon, the weapon Western experts dismissed as science fiction. A myth from Cold War fever dreams, NATO's hydroacoustic systems picked up the movement immediately. Satellites tracked the departure. Military headquarters went on alert. But they all understood one thing instantly. This wasn't planned. This wasn't routine. This was operational. For the first time since Poseidon entered service, it was live, armed, active. And the West's reaction? Instant panic, dressed up as protocol. Emergency meetings convened. Anti-submarine forces deployed. Analysts tried desperately to establish the submarine's exact location. But even the best detection technology hit a wall. Belgorod moves deep. Silently. At speeds Western anti-submarine systems were never designed to intercept. But here's what terrified them most. This wasn't about the submarine itself. It was about the signal it sent. Why now? That's the question echoing through every Western capital. The answer isn't found in one incident. It's found in accumulation. A hijacked Russian tanker, seized by a U.S. warship in international waters. January 7th, Ukrainian drones attacking Putin's residence. Not infrastructure, the head of state himself. German-made Taurus missiles, striking Crimean Bridge, Russia's declared red line. Shattered. Franco-British plans to deploy troops to Odessa. Endless sanctions designed to strangle the Russian economy. The West treated each episode as routine. Another move in the game. Another provocation Russia would swallow. But they miscalculated. Moscow tried diplomacy. Raised concerns through international channels. Issued warnings that grew increasingly sharp. Nothing changed. Every Western step looked like a challenge. Every Russian warning sounded like bluffing. Until the Kremlin decided, if words don't work, we'll speak in a language that cannot be ignored. And that's when Poseidon left port. Forget everything you know about torpedoes. Poseidon isn't a weapon. It's an autonomous underwater doomsday machine. The specifications read like science fiction. Speed, 120 km/h underwater. Operational depth, 1,000 meters. Range, unlimited. Payload, up to 100 megatons. That depth alone makes it invisible to conventional anti-submarine warfare. Modern ASU systems are optimized for shallower threats. Their detection range simply doesn't reach a kilometer down. The speed? Faster than anything designed to hunt it. But here's what makes Poseidon truly terrifying, it thinks. Low-noise propulsion. Autonomous navigation. Obstacle avoidance. This isn't a missile you fire and forget. It's a patient predator that can wait. Plan. Choose its moment. Now imagine 100 megatons detonating off a coastal city. The blast isn't even the primary weapon. An artificial tsunami, 500 meters high, racing towards shore. Radioactive contamination spreading across hundreds of kilometers. Poseidon's concept isn't about one explosion. It's about consequences that last generations. This weapon wasn't designed for conventional war. Its purpose is singular and absolute. Guaranteed retaliation. And for the first time, it wasn't on a parade ground. It was on the hunt. They detected Belgorod's departure. Standard procedure kicked in immediately. satellites overhead, hydrophones listening, analysts monitoring. The first hours felt controlled. Strategic asset under surveillance, position known, direction predictable. And then contact became intermittent. Technically, this shouldn't be shocking. Submarines are designed to disappear. But this wasn't a typical submarine. Belgorod carries a weapon with no countermeasure, no defense, no second chance. And when tracking becomes unstable, concern instantly transforms into silent panic. NATO activated full anti-submarine protocols. Patrol aircraft airborne, helicopters sweeping the surface, multi-purpose submarines repositioning across the Atlantic and Arctic. The map became a chessboard where both sides tried predicting the next move. Except one player can move deeper, faster, and quieter than anyone anticipated. Why is temporary loss of contact catastrophic? Because in that moment, intentions become unknown. Direction, unknown. Distance to target, unknown. Time remaining for response, unknown. And it's this uncertainty that drives coastal capitals insane. Washington, London, Brussels, all staring at the ocean knowing if the weapon's already in position, there may be no time left at all. And then came the part that made it real. Evening, January 14th. President Putin made an official statement that instantly changed everything in the West. No shouting, no theatrical threats, no emotional outbursts, just calm, cold, factual. Poseidon is on combat patrol. This is not an exercise. This is not a demonstration. This is a real operation. That brevity, that absence of hysteria, terrified Western headquarters more than any political declaration or television spectacle ever could. Every word calculated, every pause deliberate. But here's the genius. The pressure wasn't applied to diplomats or military commanders. It went straight to the populations of coastal megacities across the U.S. and Europe. People in New York, London, Rotterdam, Amsterdam instantly felt it. This could affect us. Putin's narrative left no illusions. Every new Western provocation attacks on Russian cities, asset seizures, sanctions brings the moment closer when the weapon enters action. But there were no immediate threats, no emotional drama, just inevitability. And that calmness, that functions as psychological warfare. Western leaders forced to guess what can be done. Populations forced to comprehend the scale of threat. The closing thought sounded like a formula of absolute clarity. Patience has ended. Red lines have been crossed. Consequences will be catastrophic. After that, the West understood. This isn't bluffing anymore. Words became reality. And Western elites no longer have the time or confidence that they can control the situation. After Putin's statement and Belgorod's departure, the West found itself in complete strategic deadlock. Not a single standard measure works. Option 1. Evacuation? Impossible. You can't evacuate millions from coastal megacities. The logistics don't exist. Option 2. Intercept Poseidon? Illusion. Its depth, speed, and autonomy make it untouchable by existing ASTU systems. Option 3. Preemptive strike on the submarine. Suicide. Any wrong decision instantly leads to catastrophic consequences. Inside NATO, arguments erupt. Eastern members demand a hard line. Western members plead for de-escalation. Politicians panic as public pressure builds by the minute. Citizens in coastal cities discuss evacuation online. Rumors spread. Protective gear sells out. Insurance claims skyrocket. Markets react instantly. Capital flees coastal regions. Safe haven assets surge. Economic nervousness becomes impossible to contain with official press releases. European leaders experience something unprecedented. Their familiar planning scenarios, reserves, military options are powerless against this new reality. The psychology of megacities becomes the key factor. Fear and uncertainty grow faster than any decision can address them. And then, for the first time, someone said out loud what everyone feared to think. There exists a weapon against which there is no defense. And now the West must seek compromises it never wanted. Panic acquired the form of cold strategic fear. And this began the real game where the stakes are millions of lives. Russia made its move. And now, for days, possibly weeks, a pause has settled. But this isn't an ordinary pause. This is the moment when the entire world holds its breath. Poseidon is on combat patrol. Its presence has become an argument, not a button. The reality, the world arrived at a point where familiar rules no longer function, where old schemes of control, pressure, and threats lost meaning. The West understands you can't operate by old instructions anymore. Every decision now gets weighed in milliseconds. Patience has ended. Illusions of complete protection? Gone. Markets, society, governments, all on the edge of breakdown. Because nobody knows how long this pause will last, or what consequences it will bring. The main lesson is simple, but brutal. The world can no longer rely on traditional deterrence. Weapons of guaranteed retaliation made global strategy fragile. Any provocation, any wrong move, could have consequences that cannot be undone. The final formula is simple. This weapon may never be used. But the world will never be the same. The illusion that someone could completely control the situation collapsed in mere days. January 14th wasn't just about a submarine leaving port. It was about the death of certainty, the end of invulnerability. The moment when the nuclear age finally arrived in the 21st century, not as theory, but as immediate reality. Poseidon changed the equation not by detonating, but by simply existing. By moving, by disappearing beneath the waves where no technology can reliably find it. Every coastal city is now a potential target. Every Western provocation is now a calculated risk with apocalyptic stakes. Every day of silence is another day of unbearable tension. We stand at the edge of a new era, one where power isn't measured in armies or economies, but in the willingness to embrace mutual destruction, where patience has limits, where red lines, once crossed, cannot be uncrossed, where a single weapon moving silently through the depths holds more power than entire fleets once did. So here's the question I leave you with. Is Poseidon the final argument in a long negotiation? Or is it the opening move in the end of the world as we knew it? The world is holding its breath. But what's at stake isn't hours or days. It's the future of civilization itself. That's where we'll leave this investigation today. What do you think? Is this weapon a deterrent or a promise? I genuinely want to hear your perspective in the comments below. To new subscribers, my deepest respect for joining us. To the longtime viewers, double respect for staying with us through these critical times. This is Newslist. Stay informed, stay critical, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.